If you're watching this because you've discovered mold in your home, I want you to pause for a second, because the next decision you make matters more than most people realize. Hiring the wrong mold remediation contractor can make contamination worse, spread mold into clean areas, and leave you feeling sicker than before the work even started. And I see this happen far too often. I'm Ava Hartwell, and through my own experience and the thousands of messages I receive, one pattern keeps repeating. People trusted a contractor who treated mold like a surface problem instead of a contamination problem. So in this video, I want to walk you through what real mold remediation should look like, what many contractors get wrong, and the exact questions you need to ask before anyone touches your home. First, here's the most important thing to understand. Mold remediation is not just demolition or cleaning, it is environmental control. When walls are opened or materials are disturbed, microscopic mold fragments can become airborne. If there is no containment, no isolation, and no negative air pressure, those particles don't disappear. They spread. This is why people often tell me, "I felt worse after remediation than before." That's not bad luck. That's poor process. A qualified mold remediation contractor should understand a few non-negotiable principles. They should isolate the work area completely using plastic vapor barriers. They should create negative air pressure so air flows into the work zone, not out. They should use HEPA air scrubbers that exhaust contaminated air safely. They should use HEPA vacuums on exposed surfaces. And they should have clear procedures to prevent cross-contamination when workers enter and exit the space. If those concepts are missing, that is a red flag. Now let's talk about the questions you should ask, because this is where most homeowners get stuck. Here are the most important questions to ask any mold remediation contractor. How will you isolate the affected area from the rest of the house? Will you be using full containment with plastic vapor barriers? How do you establish and maintain negative air pressure? Where will the air from your HEPA scrubbers be exhausted? Do you use HEPA vacuums on all exposed surfaces? How do workers prevent spreading contamination when entering and exiting? How is contaminated debris removed and disposed of? And how do you verify the moisture source has actually been corrected? You're not being difficult by asking these questions. You're being informed. If a contractor can't explain these steps clearly, or dismisses them as unnecessary, that tells you everything you need to know. Another major red flag I hear about all the time is this: we'll just spray something to kill it. Sprays do not solve mold problems. They don't remove contaminated materials. They don't control airborne particles. And they don't address why the mold grew in the first place. Real remediation is slower, more controlled, and more intentional. Because it has to be. I also want to say this clearly. You are allowed to ask for containment. You are allowed to ask about airflow. You are allowed to ask where the dust is going. And you are allowed to pause or walk away if something doesn't feel right. Your health and your home are not the place to cut corners. I've written a full, detailed guide that breaks all of this down step by step, including a checklist you can use when talking to contractors, and you can read it on my site. If you feel exposed to mold, confused by remediation advice, or worried that your home may be contributing to health issues, I encourage you to visit indoorarinsight.com. There you'll find the full article, additional resources, and my lived experience navigating this exact situation. You're not alone in this, and you deserve answers you can trust.